He's Bruce the Blog.
And he's Bazzo, and you're watching Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo. And today we have not only a very interesting show, but a very important show, because we're going to be talking with two experts about the future of Westchester County as far as commerce and the economy and our overall quality of life. And we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. First, I want to just mention a couple of events this weekend that are going on. The Yorktown Chamber of Commerce has its annual street fair on Sunday, October 9, right in the middle of Yorktown Heights. And this is only, I think, the third year that the Chamber has been doing this event, and virtually overnight, it became a huge success. A lot of people, businesses, organizations, and individuals participate, show their wares, and so it's really worth your while to take a trip into Yorktown Heights on Sunday, October 9. It's an all-day event. There's a lot of stuff for families, for children, so hopefully we'll see you there. And then on Columbus Day, Monday, October 10, of course, I like to self-indulgently promote our own charity golf event, which is called the Harrison A-Par Yorktown Athletic Club Golf Classic. And this year, as I mentioned, I think, on the last show, we have Mets veteran, and of course a veteran of other teams, Rusty Staub is going to be with us. He's going to be playing golf, and he'll be speaking at the dinner afterwards at Travelers Rest. And also scheduled to appear is the Mets' Bud Harrelson, who we all remember from the '86 World Series, and Pete Rose remembers him too. There was a famous collision between both of them. And from the Yankees, catcher Rick Cerrone. So you can go to ycsports.com to get more information on that. And then we have our usual weekly salute and salvo of the week.
What did you say you were having the dinner?
Excuse me, Bazzo? Yes, the awards dinner, I think I did say, is at Travelers Rest.
Who owns that?
Travelers Rest is owned by Dave Paganelli, who's running for town council.
Oh, good.
And I think that was your point.
Yes, that was my point.
And it was very well made. So the salute of the week, we don't do this particular kind of salute every week, but every week in the Penny Saver, some of the editions, Entergy runs an ad that's sports related, and Entergy salutes a team or an athlete, and we don't always tell you that on the show, but this week I wanted to use this salute that Entergy has in this week's issue of the Penny Saver, if you see the Yorktown edition and some other editions. A young man in Somers who goes to Kennedy Catholic High School, Anthony Torchia, had a very bad accident on his ATV, his all-terrain vehicle. He needed a blood transfusion. He's okay. He can't play on the football varsity this year because of the injuries that he had. However, what he did is he wanted to give back because he's so grateful that he's better now. He gathered 85 members of his family. He called the New York Blood Center, and he was able to get his family to donate 52 pints of blood to the New York Blood Center. And the Blood Center actually told him that it was the largest response they'd ever seen from one home location. And, you know, it's become a cliche to say this, but it's worth saying, you know, we'd like to see more stories about young people like that. We see enough stories about young people that aren't so positive. And so I just wanted to salute Anthony Torchia and his family in Somers for being very good Samaritans. Now we want to introduce our...
salvo.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. And now Bazzo wants to do a salvo. He just can't wait to do that.
Well, yes, because there's been, and I'm going to stay with your sports angle, there's been so much talk about Jose Reyes sitting out after he got his hit to get that first Met batting championship. And all these talking heads and people are calling in that they would have done things different. I don't believe they would have done things different. If you have a chance to win a batting championship and you know what this is, you're going to do whatever it takes, which means if all I need is one at bat and I'm going to sit down, you're going to take one at bat. So I'm going to salvo all these people that think that they were going to do it any different than Jose Reyes. The days of Ted Williams doing it all at once are dead, because as dead as Ted Williams.
Well, not only that, but just quickly, I've written about this in the Bruce the Blog column. Did you ever listen to sports radio talk, the call-in shows?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody sitting at home can manage a team better than the manager, on the game that was played the day before.
Same with the guys behind the radio.
They wouldn't have made the same mistakes, and they would have made all the right moves. It's very laughable. But anyhow,
everybody's got hindsight is 20/20.
Right.
But better
Right.
at everything the next day.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, that's Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
And now we want to welcome with open arms both Bill Mooney, who's president of the Westchester County Association, and Bill has a very distinguished career in banking. He's really a force in the whole state, not just in Westchester, when it comes to business advocacy. And we're very happy to have him here to talk about the blueprint for Westchester County, as well as Marissa Brett. Marissa joined Westchester County Association in July of this year from the Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation, where you were a vice president, Marissa? Yeah. And Marissa now is executive director of economic development for the Westchester County Association. And the blueprint for Westchester County, I guess you could say, Marissa, has been sort of your
It's my baby.
your project, your baby, so to speak, et cetera. And Bazzo and I, we have been talking a lot on the show since we started about 13 weeks ago about politics. And politics will come into play here as well. But I don't think there's anything more important these days, nationally and locally, than, for example, job creation, creating jobs. And where do jobs come from? We were talking about this before the show began. I don't want to make an oblique reference, but they don't come from trees. You could read between the lines on that. They come from companies. And so the point of the blueprint for Westchester County that we're going to be talking about right now is that the entire county, and people who live in towns like Yorktown know this especially well, has to be much more supportive of local businesses and help local businesses. So Marissa, maybe you want to just start off by summarizing what is the goal of the blueprint.
The overreaching goal for the blueprint is to really reduce the inventory that we have in Westchester County. We have over about 6 million square feet of vacant space on our inventory list. That's a lot of square footage. So we want to try and cut that in half. We want to try and cut that inventory in half, and we have to do that in 2 ways. We have to externally market Westchester County to get new investment and companies and obviously job creation here.
Right.
So without a doubt, that will be a core focus of the blueprint. But in addition to that, we have to work on Westchester County. And when I say that, I'm saying look at the inventory and the fact that some of it has been vacant for many, many years, and why not look at other ways to utilize that inventory.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at repurposing the inventory that's been lying dormant for many years. And there's a whole process involved in doing that. You need to work with municipalities to change the zoning to allow for alternative uses.
Right.
You need to work on SECRA, which is the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and we have to work to try and streamline some of the guidelines on that. We could really get into a whole talk on that subject in and of itself. But to answer your question, we have to work internally on Westchester to reposition some of what we have so that we have some more marketable properties for alternative uses, and we have to market aggressively externally.
Don't you have 2 huge obstacles that could almost be insurmountable right now? And that's trying to get businesses into New York State, number one, instead of leaving New York State. And then come into Westchester. You have both legislatures, New York State and Westchester, that seem to have a philosophy that businesses exist to hire people. Instead of businesses hire people, what is necessary to generate the profit, which is not a crime, though government officials would think profit's a crime. So how do you overcome this anti-business mentality, even though they say the words, but their actions? Look at the union just rejected a contract. First thing that sells in Silver says, let's tax the millionaires. Not go tell the union we're going to lay you off, which Cuomo's going to do, but let's go tax the millionaires. We'll drive out more business. How do you overcome New York, the obstacle of New York State, before you even come over the obstacle of Westchester?
Well, I think you're right on, by the way, about the anti-business climate that exists here. There's no question about it. And that's why you have 6 million square feet of unoccupied space.
Right. I mean,
And
it's
by the way, that's
not
Class A
operating
space.
out of a vacuum
Right.
here.
Exactly.
There's probably somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 million square feet. This is just Class A space that Mercer is talking about.
I mean, we're not talking about the empty storefronts in Yorktown and Peekskill
Right,
and all that.
exactly.
You're talking about the bigger,
Yeah,
We're talking
commercial
about
office.
like on Executive Boulevard and all that.
Correct.
And frankly,
Right.
at the end of the day, to your point, we're not on a lot of people's radar screen. People are not rushing in to come here. Where you go back X number of years ago, and you had the MasterCards, you had the General Foods coming here, and
Banks.
creating carloads of jobs. And what's ever happened over the last 20, 30 years, we have a negative attitude towards that. But it's not insurmountable in our judgment. We have an advocacy group that's working with the political sector with respect to taxes and a whole range of things. This is not going to be done in a week. This is not going to be done in a year. It's probably a 3 to 5 year process.
But I'm watching the Westchester County Board of Legislatures, which has a majority, supermajority Democrats. They don't need any Republicans to get anything done. Are they going to listen to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think
so.
there's, I think so. I think people are starting. Marissa and I'll let Marissa talk about the experiences we've had with some of the Democratic people, not necessarily legislators, but I've had conversations with one of the legislators, and I think people are starting to say, you know what, we got to change the attitude. We got to take it from a negative
People are
to a
starting to
positive.
feel it now. People are really starting to feel the fact that they need to generate ratables. They need to look at the fact that people are out of jobs. People are starting to feel the pinch. And I think that now's the time to really capitalize on the opportunity to educate people, not just all of the people, and more specifically the municipalities, the town boards,
See,
et
this
cetera.
is what scares me. When you say about with the government getting involved, the only kind of jobs a government can create require tax dollars. They have to get out of your way. Can they get them out of your way so people can take and
We
do
couldn't agree
private
with you
investment?
more. I mean, definitely we are of the philosophy,
Did you just
without
hire
a doubt.
Andy at the Westchester County Association?
No, I've been preaching this.
I know.
for
No, you're
years.
not.
You're right. By the way, you're
really
absolutely right. I
believe-
think, Bruce and I were talking about this before the show. In my judgment, anybody who's been in office, any incumbent, has to think about job creation, has to think about economic development. We're hurting as a group now. We're hurting as a business group. And by the way, people are getting their tax bills this week. They're going to be thinking twice about what's going on. So I think it's a time where I think reinventing ourselves is going to start to come into play.
I mean, it was interesting, going back to this union vote that voted down and Cuomo's getting off the layoffs. Now, he's not in favor of the millionaire's tax for New York State, but he's in favor of Obama's millionaire tax because he says people can leave New York State if we do it statewide. But where are they going to go? Countrywide. But actually, we found out these corporations can leave the country too now in this electronic age.
Oh, absolutely. Without a
But,
doubt,
you
it's a
know-
global economy.
That's
This
what I
week's
mean.
announcement
This is
with
this is the
IBM.
obstacles you're facing, and this.
No, and on a positive note, Marissa just started to mention, and we were also talking about this before, but on a very positive note, also involving Governor Cuomo, is the announcement this week about his jobs initiative. And Marissa, you were there, right?
I
at
was
the
there.
announcement,
I was
so-
there. It was a very
Tell
exciting
the people
day.
what happened, because not everybody sees the news or reads the papers. But
Sure. This week, I was in Albany for an economic development conference, and Governor Cuomo announced a deal with IBM, Intel, Samsung, TSMC, and Global Foundries. They're all in the nanotechnology industry. They're going to be working together collaboratively to create the next wave of technology, being the 450 millimeter chip.
Right.
And what that means is they're going to collectively, the companies are going to invest $4.4 billion into the state of New York.
Wow.
More specifically, IBM alone is investing $3.6 billion of that $4.4 billion. The state is going to invest $400 million of taxpayer dollars, so the ratio there is obviously in favor of New York State.
Right.
And with that said, New York State is actually investing the money through the SUNY system,
Right.
the State University of New
University,
York.
yes.
So it's not actually giving a check to the companies, which we've always seen in the past. This
Right.
is a new creative way to pass it through the education system to make sure that education is helping to drive the economy. So I think it was a huge, well, without a doubt, it was a huge win for New York State. It was a huge win for Westchester because 6,900 jobs are going to be created or retained statewide. 950 of those jobs are going to be created right here in Yorktown.
Yeah, which is great.
Which
Which
is,
great.
I have a question, and now, Bill, you'll remember, you're when Bruce around and said, so you'll remember. But aren't we forgetting jobs for those people that don't have a college education? These people are the ones that are hurting too. I mean, you're
Right.
talking about creating jobs for people that have a nice college, but not everybody has one.
And making the connection, one of the challenges you list on your blueprint is that there is a shortage of housing for the workforce, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
so that addresses.
I read that. That's why this particular question. But like I said, you remember that. I mean, you know as well as I do. You were in banking. How many people came to you? I want to open a garage. They didn't have a college education.
Frankly, I didn't have a college education. I went to night school and 8.5 years, as a matter of fact. I think, to your point about people without college education, what we're doing in this process is we're hooking up with the academic institutions throughout Westchester County. And they're going to supply training resources for us. We've got to reinvent ourselves here.
Right.
And when you look at the successes around the country,
Some people are just better with their hands than with their minds.
sure, exactly.
And
But
they need the opportunity to, we call them the service industry, the people that open the restaurants, the delis, the garages, that have to service all these other people you're going to employ. They need goods and services.
But you need to get
gotta
those
get
companies here so
Right,
that they
first.
have somebody to service.
This is where your thing about the different codes and laws come in. Try to open a smaller business. Just a rinky-dink garage.
Well, let's take an. I
That's
mean,
what
I think with
These
both
are the
Bill and
obstacles you
Marissa,
gotta
we should
face.
use this example in Peekskill. There's this, this entrepreneur, business owner, who very reputable, who wants to open a tattoo parlor. Now, if anybody who's following the culture in our country lately, tattoos are becoming very popular. No longer are they a stigma.
Right.
And Peekskill is giving this person all kinds of trouble.
Well,
Well, they said we're going to let you open, but we're going to only let you open where you're bound to fail. Seriously, they got them on so far on the outskirts of Peekskill, nobody's going to go there.
it's not only the tattoo parlors that are having difficulty, it's all
Everybody
businesses.
Right, but I'm saying, but you've got governments that say, we're going to tell you what you can do.
Well,
we're going to tell you what you can put on your signs. We're going to tell you what. I remember they told me that in Yorktown Pizza Hut wanted to come in, but they have a red roof. So Yorktown said, "Yep, can't come in with a red roof."
Well, the Westchester County Association has a philosophy on that. Its members have a philosophy, its board has a philosophy on it. Nothing works if it's totally driven by government. It just doesn't work. We've seen that at the national level, we've seen it at local levels. If the government tries to drive something, it doesn't work. When business tries to drive something, it seems to work. So if you create the appropriate partnership with business
Can
and
you get
government.
into a partnership with government when their agenda is the antithesis of yours? And that's the problem with New York State, Westchester County, and a lot of these local governments. Their agenda is not your agenda, even though they say the words.
Well, I'm not sure of that right now. I think Marissa's already, I'll let her talk to that point. But she's talked to a few of the mayors recently, and why don't you tell them how they responded?
Yeah, and I mean, I've had conversations with Mayor Roach and Mayor Bramson, City of White Plains, City of New Rochelle, and Bill was there as well. But it's very encouraging, I guess is what I would say to you. Very encouraging in that the mindset is, you know what, we've recognized the fact that we're struggling. We have some buildings that are vacant, that have been vacant, and we want to open the doors to allow new businesses in. Now, with that said, Westchester County is a home rule state. So, every municipality has control of their own municipality. What we encourage is a quick process. At least know that if you're going to come into a place and you want to open up your business, know before you invest, waste time, etc., get around a table and say, yes, you're going to be able to do it, or no, you're not. So that you, listen.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You're talking to these people. What does your gut instinct tell you about their sincerity and what they're saying to you? Are they
Good.
telling you what
Good.
you want to hear?
No,
No,
I believe
no.
it. I really
That's
believe
it. What
it.
is your
I've
gut
heard-
instinct? 'Cause
and
you have
I've-
to work on your gut.
Hey,
Yep,
I'm
I
a street
agree.
kid from the Bronx.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You were in the
And
banking.
she's
I grew up in
she's-
Yonkers.
And she grew up in Yonkers. So
But
the
you
two
were
of us
banking.
together
There
have
were
some.
times you probably made loans just on your feeling about
Exactly
the
right,
person or
exactly
not
right.
made the loan because
So I
of
tell you,
your-
there's no question in my mind that Mayor Roach and Mayor Bramson, they understand what's going on. We had long conversations with them, with their staffs as well. They wouldn't bring their staffs in if they were just going to give us lip service. And actually, to take it a step further, Marissa is actually arranging what we call
City days.
city days, which we're going to have a whole day event in the city to promote business coming into the area.
So you're
and I'll
gonna
let
come
her.
into Yorktown and
great.
Peekskill?
Yeah, it is great.
Peekskill's a city. You're going to come
We're
in
gonna-
with like Peekskill
We're-
and do this in Peekskill?
Yes.
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
though we're not in Peekskill yet, it's a show,
Yeah.
but still.
Yes, we'll be talking to Mayor Foster
She's
about that as well.
Marissa is already creating energy and excitement within these cities. I felt so good about the responses that we're getting. We're going to talk to Peekskill. We're going to be talking to Yonkers.
Yonkers,
We're going to be
Mount
talking to Greenberg, even though it's not a city, it's
Right.
a big area.
Well, and Paul Feiner
Paul-
is extremely, an activist.
He's
really.
another
Absolutely,
proof that-
without a doubt.
He's another proof that party label doesn't matter
Yeah,
in the
no.
local government.
But-
Democrat, but he talks Republican when it comes to business.
Yeah, yes.
Well, Paul has been very aggressive about this. He's
Yeah.
actually sent over his planning commissioner to speak with us. Paul has written me a letter on the whole subject. They're anxious to participate.
Now, I know your
And
name
to your
from-
point, nobody is going to get reelected anymore unless they start to play ball and reduce
Okay,
the
now,
taxes.
Now, I know
Right,
your
yeah.
name from a long time ago. I think we have a mutual friend, George Oros.
Yeah.
And you now have Astorino administration. You went butted heads with the Spano administration. Is there a difference in tone now? Because you've been through both.
Well, I try to stay politically neutral as
I
best
don't
I
mean
can.
it politically. I'm
but-
talking about business-wise.
But I think business-wise, there's clearly a difference. I think that Astorino has gone out of his way, in my judgment, to try to create a pro-business favor. He's talking about, he's hired Larry Gottlieb, who is doing a great job with respect to economic development. He's got this intellectual capital campaign
I'm
that's
not
going
asking
on.
about politics. I'm just asking
Right.
business. All my questions, if you notice, are about business philosophies,
yeah.
whether it be from the government side or whatever. Is there a change in the business?
There's no question
do you
that
feel
there's-
that it's there?
Yes.
And also, what the administration is doing, which the previous administration did not do, is they're allowing people to participate in the process. The
So
process
it's more open to the people.
much more open to the
Okay,
people,
okay.
much more, and it's seeing some successes. Larry has done a fabulous job.
And how do you feel about this county now?
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that they're aggressively going after growth sectors, and I think they're working to grow them. I think that they are working with the business community in any way that they possibly can. They're open to working with us on initiatives that we agree with. As Bill said, we believe that business should drive the new economy, and we're going to work together with the
Now,
county
I
government
know
to
what
make that
Bruce,
happen.
I know where you're going, and I'm going to let you go to that page. How do the people get involved? You have that initiative.
Well,
so-
but before that, I want to ask, for you to clarify, like one of the challenges, the bullet point challenges here, it's a negative absorption rate for 7 years. Just clarify that. I mean, isn't that about businesses leaving
Yeah.
as opposed to businesses coming in?
Well, what the absorption rate means is if you have a negative absorption, it means that you have more leaving than coming in.
Right.
And the problem that we've seen in Westchester County is we are attracting businesses every year, but we're losing as well,
Right.
such as Starwood and Nokia.
Yep. So it
and-
went to Connecticut, right? Well,
Right.
Connecticut's known for being very tax friendly to corporations, right?
Well, I think
Right.
that they had a really large package. I know that they had a very large package to be able to offer, but I don't know that we're going to be able to see them.
Right, but at
create
least
such offers.
we prevented Pepsi from leaving.
Well,
right?
they were, yeah,
Yes,
that's exactly right.
absolutely.
Connecticut certainly was user-friendly on that deal, and
Yeah.
and the previous administration, meaning at the governor level, was in office then, and it wasn't really
But
business.
isn't it true that the people leaving are at a higher income rate than the people coming in and
Yes,
replacing?
exactly.
And that's also a big problem.
Yep.
You're not, even if you're playing, tag, with this, you got 20,000
Right.
leaving, 20,000 coming in. If there's a $50,000 discrepancy in the income level,
Well, the exact number happens to be 22%, which is a huge variance.
22% negative.
Negative, yeah, of people coming in versus, in fact, there was the Empire State Center run by McMahon just come out with all those statistics in the last day
smart
or
man.
so.
I read his work a lot.
He's terrific. He does a
He's
great
really
job.
on the ball when it comes to
Yeah,
this.
So,
and
so
he
we have less discretionary spending.
Yeah. Well, the purchasing power that's lost is dramatic, and
Right.
it is so dramatic, and that's why our local Main Street is hurting, because if you have a 22% variance in salaries, Main Street has to hurt, and that's why it lends itself towards a higher
There's
taxes.
another problem you have, though. You have government that does these unfunded mandates on business, and they're pretending that business is going to just absorb it and go on. You take New York State now has got 2 more mandatory things on that health insurance policies have to cover. Then they say, well, the cost of private insurance is outrageous. That's why the government's got it. But if they didn't have all these unfunded mandates of mandatory one-size-fits-all policies, and now businesses are dropping this coverage because government has made the cost. It's not the greedy insurance companies that have made the cost of insurance almost unaffordable for business. It is the mandates where the government says, you must cover this. Why do I need a policy that covers mammograms? Why do I need that? I don't. My policy shouldn't have to cover it, but it has to, and I got to pay for that.
Well, I think that insurance costs have gone up unusually high in the state of New York. By the way, so you should know this, the insurance companies make more money in New York State than they make in any other state in the United States. But it's a whole different subject. But to your point about the unfunded mandates, the key drivers of unfunded mandates are the pension issues, and secondly, healthcare costs. But the
health course you can do a lot about. You don't have to go through multiple years of passing laws.
Right.
You could just start removing. They want to now, it was just in the paper yesterday, they want to make insurance companies cover transgender operations. Mandatory. Got to cover this.
Yeah.
No, tell me, that's not going to drive it. No offense against any. It's just the fact that, again, why does my policy need to cover this? I don't plan on this in the near future.
But your point is a good one about the healthcare contributions. At the end of the day, we don't have to go through this whole bureaucratic way of changing things. Well, we can implement that very quickly, and it would save the state tens.
You both have your work cut out for you because you've got you got to deal with people that got to pander to get elected. Yet a lot of things to get business in is not.
And to your point, all of a sudden we're seeing on a very local level the politicians, running for office, and they're sprinting in the final stretch. Now they're calling for an end to unfunded mandates. Where were you?
Over the
years you were in office.
You were passing them.
It's actually slightly offensive.
I do.
All of a sudden you're against them. You didn't do anything about them until now.
Well, it's probably the most written about subject right now, unfunded mandates. It's a key driver of all the issues we're talking about.
That's the one thing I've noticed, the change because of the electronic media, the cable, a lot of this. We couldn't do a show like this without people going, next, let's turn on the ball game. Now people are listening to radio or television about budgets, unfunded mandates.
That's why I say we have an opportunity now.
Yes,
because people are paying attention
Yes,
and people
finally.
care.
Finally.
The
And we have an
challenge is
opportunity
To say goodbye, I
to
guess.
start to wind it up a little bit. Yeah.
I think-
Well, I want to thank
Oh,
Bill.
I'm sorry.
I want to thank you very much,
Thank you.
Marissa. Thank you very much for being with us. Andy,
Yes,
go ahead.
thank you both.
Go ahead.
Again, these were my opinions. You may beg to differ. Thank you for coming.
And
Thanks for
when
having us.
Bruce the Blog listens, people talk. Thanks very much for being with
We'll
us.
see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
I know you like you know me. We live together in harmony. bad weather. When trouble comes around, we won't let it put us down. Swear just